Right then, I thought I'd do a quick review as a new rider on this bike. So it's a CBR600F, Honda obviously. Basically I've been riding a 125 for 6 months while I was doing my direct access. Passed my direct access and didn't know at all what sort of bike I was after. Was looking for, or thought I was looking for, sort of an upright bike, something good to learn on. Initially, I was looking at CBR600F, but I was a little bit worried that if I did get something like that, it just wouldn't be enough bike for me after 6 months, 12 months, and I'd be keen to change straight away. I was quite open to anything. I was up for having a Tiger Explorer or anything like that. I really didn't mind. But when I saw this bike and I spoke about it at the dealership, I thought, yeah, this is probably the right bike for me. So, good bike to learn on, and probably see myself getting something like a bigger sports tourer, maybe a litre sports tourer in a couple of years' time. So at the moment, this hopefully it's going to do the job just perfectly. Yeah, obviously it's a lot more powerful than a 125. Going from a 125 to a 600, there's an awful lot of difference. Obviously, this will do in second gear what that bike could only dream of doing. It's 100 brake horse, or thereabouts. It's quite a light bike. It's not very intimidating at all. It only gets a bit intimidating when you really wind it on. I'd say it is obviously quite a nippy bike, and quite frankly I can't really see why I would have something faster. It does about 90 mile an hour in second gear, and it gets there fast enough really, so you really license busting speed, full speed third gear. So yeah, certainly quick enough. Beautiful engine, lovely engine. It's really kind of revvy, quite buzzy. Doing about 6,500 RPM on the motorway. Quite happily ride around at 35 mile an hour in top gear and 6 gear. So it's got 6 gears. It's a little bit tedious on the motorway. So far I've been on it a fair bit. I've probably done about 1,000 miles in all weathers, so wind, rain, you name it. I've just, the last journey I've done, I was on the bike for about 7 hours. I drove up north from the south coast basically to Cambridge, about a 2.5 hour journey. I did about an hour at a go-kart track. Sorry, no footage for that. I wasn't allowed to film there. And then a few hours back, I drove back in the rain at about 2 in the morning. So yeah, it was a bit of a slog. So I've got a little bit of pillion riding. It's a very small seat for pillion riding. Not something I'd be too happy sitting on the back of, quite honest. But she was pretty happy. In terms of riding it with a pillion, it was notably slower, and braking distance increased. Now I can imagine that's the same for being too up on any bike. Yeah, it really was noticeable. Wouldn't want to do any real journey, any real distance. About 3/4 of an hour on the back of this is long enough. It was actually raining, so the other half got wet through. In terms of insurance, I have to pay about £60 a month, nearly 30. I'm paying about £30 a month for my 125, £60 a month for a CBR600F. So I'd say that's not too bad. It's very comfortable. I can sit on it for about 2 hours before I get real arseache, and I need to get off it. 10 minutes walking around, I'm absolutely fine just to get straight back on. Quite a lot more confidence on this in the wet than I would have done on my 125. Does feel very stable. Now doing 70-ish miles an hour on the road. I like the dash, or the instrument panel, the clocks. It's very easy to see your speed, pretty easy to see your revs. It's obviously got a fuel gauge. What I find with the fuel gauge is the first 3 bars do last a decent while. As soon as you get down to 3 bars, it chews it up pretty quickly. With normal or normal for a bike riding, this type of bike. In terms of range, say I'm probably getting I really don't know, about 150 miles to a tank. So during that sort of 6-7 hour ride to Cambridge and back, I actually had to fill up 3 times, and that's left me with over half a tank. A fill up being pretty much 16 quid, £1.28 a litre, thereabouts. The headlights on normal dip beam on a normal road, it's sufficient. You can see about 20-25 yards in front of you. The full beams on, not so good. They are very bright, they do light up the road pretty well, but it doesn't focus that light down on the centre of the road, the parts of the road that you'll actually be driving on. But again, significantly better than the 125 that I was riding before, and I haven't got a great deal to compare it to. Well, in terms of accessories, I would prefer to have a top box. I'm not that bothered by the way a bike looks, but I don't think they do an official top box or anything like that. It does mean you have to carry your helmet around with you when you get off it. In terms of how I use it for a day off, or for a bit of fun, or if I've got basically any excuse to, I'll jump on my bike and go for a run. So today's excuse, I needed a pair of shoelaces. Decided to go sort of 20-25 minutes up the road. Bought my shoelaces, stuck with my helmet, went for a coffee at Costa after being hounded by a salesman, and I left the shoelaces in Costa Coffee. And I really couldn't give a shit. I'll go out next week and go and get another pair of shoelaces. That's fine by me. Sounds very good. Very keen. I say it's very, very buzzy. So if you are doing kind of motorway speeds, it's a little bit tedious, to be honest. You know, it certainly wants to go, and it just starts to get towards that part of the power band where it really ready to go. So it is a bit wearing, it is a bit tedious on a motorway or doing long journeys. I think if that's what you're going to primarily use a bike for, then something with a bit taller gearing or something that's just a bit more appropriate to that. The fairing's very effective. You don't get much buffeting around your legs or on your torso, but of course you'll still get a lot of buffeting towards the top of your helmet, your head. You know, what do you expect? It's but the fairing's appropriate for the bike. Pull this lever here and it'll flash. Full beams, indicators and a horn. Has got hazard lights and an engine kill start, or an engine cut off switch. I've not had the bike for very long. The only problem I've had with it is the battery's died on me. I did buy this bike second hand. It's 2011. It's now 2014 just. So I just assumed that it's not had a great deal of use before I picked it up, hence dead battery. I did frighten myself on this the other day. Doing about 30 miles an hour. Greasy road, quite damp, been raining about an hour before. I think I was in second gear, twisted the throttle back a little bit too hard, Span the back wheel for about a further 10 yards down the road. So I'm new to riding, quite a scary experience for anybody. But strangely enough, it actually felt quite planted, and other than not intending to do what I'd just done, I didn't feel like I was going to come off. But a bit of a burnout of 30 mile an hour, when you never intended to, is going to scare the shit out of anybody. What an idiot. They do a CBR600F or CBR600RR. My understanding is, the suspension's more adjustable, and I think the real bugbear for me would have been with that is the seat. The seat looked very hard, very uncomfortable, and I'm not going to be taking my bike on a track day. For me, I really don't need the extra power as well. I think they've got an extra 20 odd brake horse. I've heard quite a bit about the braking system on this bike. Now, I think I'm right in saying that the front brake and the rear brake are connected. It's got ABS, so when you crank on the front brake a little bit too hard, something surprises you, it slows the brake down very, very, very effectively. Brake feels very stable, and it doesn't feel like anything's going out of line. Braking system on this bike is excellent. I'm no expert. I've probably not driven it as hard or braked as hard, or tested it out as much as other riders maybe would have done. But for me, just confidence inspiring. Same around the corners. Very confidence inspiring. I've hit a couple of potholes and some sort of big brick thing in the road that I just couldn't avoid at the time, or I hadn't seen for whatever reason, and wrong side of the road, mate. Scary as it was, there's no danger for any minute that I was coming off the bike, and it soaked up with, well, as little fuss as something on two wheels could have done, really. So prices, I think this bike's about £7,500. I got it second hand for just over for about £5 grand, 6,000-7,000 miles on the clock. That's pretty good. It'll hold a decent bit of its value. The gearbox, I think, is a little bit notchy. Doesn't just thunk into place. It seems to thunk and clunk a little bit. Yep. In terms of accelerating at the line, it just does 30 mile an hour instantly. There you go, we caught every single red light here. So I'll do it again just now. But it just will hit 30 instantly. I've not stretched it that far in first gear. Second gear is 30, and then second gear, as I say, I'll take you all the way up to 90. So I will do a proper review when I deem myself experienced enough to talk about it a little bit more in the future.